I don't know where to start. It was bad. Let's start there. It was bad. Really quite something. And Doctor Who has had its fair share of bad episodes, but the reality war is not the same kind of bad I would call something like Sleep No More. This was bad in another way. It's peculiar. Let's just jump into it. This is the Doctor Who review of The Reality War. Going into this episode, I knew it would be messy. The whole season has had this vibe of ideas not being fully realised and things feeling rushed and thrown together. Reveals were tacked on to the ends of episodes. At times, it felt like a school reunion of classic Who, and like school reunions, your old mates never looked like how you remembered them. There was so much to wrap up, so much to tackle, so many promises to keep. I always knew that it would be messy. What I didn't expect was how uninterested it would be with wrapping up the storylines it actually promised, to instead give us a convoluted ending, butchering the companion, the threat, and the integrity of the show in the process. Now, I have always tried to be fair in my videos. You'll notice I'll never outrightly slate something, and I always try to find time to praise the positives. As a writer myself, and I'm currently trying to break into the crazy world of telly, I never thought it would be a good idea to just criticise for the sake of a YouTube view. However, I also don't see the point of having this channel if I'm not going to be honest. So here we go. Let's start with Omega, because he's gone in a matter of minutes. I honestly don't get why he was even brought back. And who is this episode for? It's not for die-hard Doctor Who fans, because this isn't the Omega they'd be excited to see. Everything about the character they once loved and longed to see again isn't here. He's just a hungry beast. But he's not exciting for new viewers either. Even if they like the design, even if they are hyped by his presence, he's gone before they can care. Before they can even be frightened of him, he's beaten. Sent away in a matter of seconds so the plot can switch to something that has had no previous build-up. The two Ranis are completely underused and makes me wonder why we spent 2 years building up Mrs. Flood. Mrs. Flood does nothing while the Rani just stands around explaining lore in long exposition dumps before being eaten. Her plan falls apart within seconds, a plan that they built up all of last week, again just so we can move on to a plot that had no intrigue. The Rani is a good enough character to hold an episode. Two Ranis should be even more exciting. When you add Conrad to that along with the Wish Baby, it already feels cluttered but perhaps doable. Omega feels like a step too far, but then the episode decides just to push them all aside in one single scene. The threat vanishes, the urgency of the villains is non-existent. I've been saying for a while that I want Doctor Who to have proper monsters again, but I also want the show to care about its monsters, to have fun with its monsters. Here they feel like an inconvenience. If the episode wants to rush onto the family stuff, and we will talk about the family stuff in a bit, without balancing it with thrills and adventure that the monsters can bring. Okay, let's talk about the other characters, starting with the unit staff. Now, if the monsters are going to play second fiddle, then the heroes need to take centre stage. We need to love them, feel for them. Secondary characters shouldn't just be story beats, they should be characters with purpose, with feelings, wants and needs. And I didn't care for any of them because they had no urgency. Anita spends the whole time propping a door open, letting a draft in. Shirley doesn't do anything. For some reason, Susan is in this. Not this Susan, she isn't in the episode. For some reason, Rose is in this. Not this Rose, she isn't in the episode. And this just feels like another example of the Marvel bug that Doctor Who has unfortunately caught. I'll go into this in more detail when I do my video Doctor Who as a Marvel problem, but it feels like everything is trying to be Avengers Endgame without the years of work that goes into doing a team up like that. Because the team up itself isn't the exciting aspect. The exciting aspect comes from seeing characters that we care about finally interacting, working together or against each other for the first time. There's nothing wrong with having tons of characters in unit, but it needs to feel earned. We need to feel an excitement and a buzz when they return. But I don't know these characters well enough to feel anything when they appear. I can't tell you how Rose talks, how Shirley acts, how Susan feels. And Doctor Who can do team-ups. Russell literally did one in his first era, and it's funny because he did it before Marvel. And yet the show is desperate to follow the Marvel formula, a formula that has been running out of steam for years now. I want the show to predict the future of storytelling, not clinging to the past. But let's get on to the big problems. The problems that I genuinely feel affect the previous episodes of the season. And that all starts with Belinda. When we first meet Belinda, she has urgency. She feels real. She's a nurse and she loves her job. She's not interested in the Doctor's life. She just wants to get home, to see her parents and go to work, because that's what makes her happy. Belinda isn't someone who dreams of the stars. The adventure of life is enough for her. And that is a breath of fresh air when it comes to a Doctor Who companion. The story you could tell with that premise is amazing. It should be rich, full of tension between her and the Doctor, full of longing, interesting debates about what makes the perfect life. All All of this should be amazing. However, the urgency of Belinda slowly gets stripped away each episode until the reality war where our whole character arc just revolves around a child she never actually had. In the Wish world, Belinda and the Doctor had a daughter called Poppy, and in the reality war, Belinda is determined to keep Poppy. She sees her as her actual daughter and refuses to let her go. And this could work. If Belinda is still consumed by part of the Wish world's power, it would make sense that she cares and loves her child. I don't have an issue with that. My issue is her whole character shifts for the conclusion of this plot. The Doctor changes time, changes her entire life for her to become a mum. But she was never a mum. She never even expressed any interest of having children throughout the season. This was her life in the Wish world, a world that was created by a misogynist, by one of the story's many villains, and yet it's portrayed to be a happy ending. Her life before the Doctor changes forever. It never existed. Her whole life has been rewritten and she never finds out, and this is meant to be a happy ending. Belinda, a woman who just wanted to go to work and watch her dad sing, is now a single mother tackling trying to bring up a child she was never meant to have while holding a very stressful job. And this was meant to be a happy ending. Fucking hell. When we first meet Belinda, she hates being called Miss. We meet her when she has a very backwards, old-fashioned, overbearing boyfriend who believes women should fit a certain role. And then her happy ending is becoming Conrad's version of Belinda from his make-believe world that was built on the same old-fashioned values. And there's nothing wrong with being a mum, by the way. That's obviously not what I'm saying. You can want children. Children are allowed. But that's never what Belinda wanted. If she was a single mum the whole time trying to get back to her daughter, honestly, that's perfect. That's a great storyline, and it brings brilliant stakes for a companion to have. Alternatively, if we found out Belinda could never have children, and suddenly she has this daughter in the Wish world and she can't bear to lose her, that would work. She could even feel like she was always meant to meet the Doctor because he gave her a child she never thought she could have. That's lovely. It's fairy tale sci-fi. But whatever you do, it needs to be built into her character that we have been watching for the last 7 to 8 weeks. Honestly, it would make more sense for Ruby, a woman who has grown up loving children, who we witnessed dive onto a ladder hanging over London to save a baby in her first episode, to have this ending. She's also the companion to originally meet Captain Poppy. Change a few things and you can make this ending work for Ruby. And honestly, in a way, I kind of feel like it was meant to be. I think some behind the scenes stuff has gone on, and that's just speculation, but the whole thing feels stitched together hastily. But this ending for Belinda just doesn't work. Everything that made her an interesting character gets taken away from her in Conrad's world. And yet when the villains are defeated and the Wish world claps, her urgency is never returned. We even see her in the first part look kind of horrified about having a child she can't remember having. So this ending for her just feels off. And her personality does a full shift too. In her very first episode, she literally calls the Doctor out for scanning her without her consent, yet says nothing when he scans her daughter. Like, where is Belinda? Where has she gone? I just think to change someone's entire life without them ever knowing isn't a happy ending, it's cruel. And the funny thing is, the best scene of the episode would have fixed the problem. When the Doctor and Belinda are talking about travelling with Poppy while the coat gets smaller and smaller, fading from existence until they can't remember her, that's brilliant. I thought, okay, this hasn't been a great episode, but this ending works amazingly. We get to see that they would have been happy having a child, but it was never meant to be. Like, yeah, I would have liked them to make a comment about how weird it is they now have a child together suddenly, but whatever. This scene is lovely. The heartbreak that Ruby feels as she watches the final wish fade away is brilliant. But that scene needs to end with Ruby also forgetting. Only we as the audience should ever know what could have been. That way Belinda goes home, the Doctor keeps his promise about returning her to Earth, but we know there could have been more, that they were actually happy together. That's fine. But Ruby remembering immediately breaks the moment because what follows is wild. The Doctor just acts like an asshole to Ruby. He thinks she's confused, but he doesn't try to console her, doesn't want to know what's going on. He just acts like she's an idiot. Belinda even says she's being insulting. Like, why are they now being so mean to her? It feels odd. And this is the last scene 15 gets with Ruby. I think it's such a sour note to end their friendship, because we've never seen Ruby and the Doctor argue. We've never even seen them disagree. So like, this is the first time he's like this with her, and then he goes off and dies. That is wild to me. I don't get it. I just don't get that choice. Okay, before we go on to the regeneration, let's talk about some positives. Like I've said, I like the coach drinking scene. It was one emotional moment that actually felt real and I believed it. It was well written, well acted and well shot. Best moment for me. I liked the Battle of the Bone Beasts. Not an amazing moment, but it was very needed action and I was grateful for it. I also thought it looked really good too. I liked Mel's perm. I love that she suddenly had a perm and we're just expected to be okay with it. I actually liked the 13th Doctor scene. It was nonsense. I don't know why she was there at all, but I liked it. They had good chemistry together. I love that Yasmin Finney keeps getting paid for doing absolutely nothing. What an icon. And now, let's talk about the regeneration. Honestly, the regeneration scene itself is fine. It's very obvious no matter what the production team tells us, this was never the original plan. The reshoots are definitely the regeneration and that's why it all feels incredibly rushed. Something has gone on behind the scenes and we probably will never find out, and if we do it won't be for like 15 years. And I think that's sad because I've never felt nothing for regeneration before. Even in eras I haven't loved, I still get that buzz, that excitement that things are changing. But this scene felt exactly what it was, rushed and unearned. I can't even tell you what 15's last words were, and that's odd. Like, all I can tell you is that he went back to Joy the Star. I don't know why, but that's it. And then Billie Piper turned up. Now, I love Billie Piper. I think she's a wonderful actor who has so much charisma and brings so much personality to every character she plays. She is wonderful to watch. She commands the screen or the stage. She's great. And you know what? I think she would have made a wonderful Doctor. But that's not what this casting is. Because Billie Piper didn't play a little role in Doctor Who. She played Rose Tyler, one of the most important characters from Russell's first era. Because she was many people's first companion and most of the general public still remember Rose. And not just her, the whole Tyler family were a major part of the show when it first returned. And Rose has come back quite a few times, and then Billie was in the 50th as the moment, but the show's moved on now. It's shifted and changed. Rose is important to the history of the show when discussing its return to the screen, but as a character in the show, she's not. She was once, a long time ago, but that story ended perfectly. Billie Piper just feels like the ultimate stunt casting. A casting to generate hype and speculation, but that doesn't equal viewers and fans. Because to long-time fans and the general public, news of her casting just feels desperate. This show isn't charging into new territories, instead it feels like an apology for trying to change in the first place. And it's possible that she's not even playing the Doctor. She isn't credited as the Doctor at the end, and both her and Russell's Instagrams point to some kind of twisty shenanigans, but that's not good either. People not knowing who is currently the Doctor in a show called Doctor Who is not good. Why are we trying to confuse fans, new fans especially? This was meant to be a jumping on point for new viewers. They called it Season 1 and Season 2, and now a character from Series 1 and Series 2 and Series 4, and possibly the 50th, is back, and I don't get that. I feel like the reality war was written to be consumed but not enjoyed. In an attempt to garner hype and conversation, the simplicity of family viewing has been lost. It feels like they're not interested in making Doctor Who anymore, but instead desperate to create an IP, a franchise that can stand side by side with the giants of Hollywood. But Doctor Who has always been great because it didn't need to do that. It never needed Hollywood money or stunt casting. It just needed a blue box, a screwdriver, an alien, and a monster. Doctor Who has survived for 60 plus years being unapologetically its own thing. It will be such a shame to lose it while it tries to be something that it's not.